Hey everybody, welcome back to the Awful Podcast. We're Adam, what in God's green earth are you doing?
Oh, welcome back!
Stop. Everybody needs to know. Actually, I don't even know if I could do justice describing what you had just done. It wasn't offensive or bad in any way. Although it was very been divorced twice, like lady with furs and feathers.
The face?
Yeah.
So
like you're trying to channel your inner Mrs. White.
So we had literally talked about right before Fiona press play that since I started the podcast last time, that they would start the podcast this time, and I thought in my mind, I'm gonna hijack this moment.
Yeah, and boy fucking did you. So glad to be doing the podcast with a friend of mine.
So that face I learned from a lovely friend. Her name is Lindsay Gloriana Bohan.
Lindsay Sterling?
Yes, Lindsay Sterling's sister and cousin.
Who has the same first name, not last name.
Yeah, maybe the same middle name.
They're Asian, so it's a family name.
Yeah. She at the beginning of the summer, she showed me that face. We were working at Cedar Point. She's a lovely human, and she did that face. It's like a supermodel face where it looks like the nose is like plastic surgically contoured and like looks skinny, and then like puts her lips out a little bit. I'm trying to describe for the listeners, since you simply
so they
cannot
can all get a lovely taste of it.
A taste of my face and Lindsay Gloriana Bohan's face.
Mm-hmm.
And
learn this technique.
And she makes her lips look a little bigger, like the Kim Kardashian, or the one that was famous for the big lips.
Kylie Jenner.
Kylie Jenner.
I know that you don't know what this is, but this reminds me so much of this TikToker who would you'll just be doing something random and the caption is just kind of like, what would you do if you opened your fridge and saw this? And it's like, this guy who puffs out his lips and flattens his eyes a little bit, and then he's just like, it's like, call out my name. Call out my name. And he's just appears in the weirdest places. Somebody put in the comments if you know who I'm talking about, because I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But it's the most predictable content because you know it's going to be him, and you know what's going to happen. But it's like a train passing by or whatever, and then there he is. Ah! So terrifying. If I actually saw that, I'd be like,
So yeah, now that we've got the intro out of the way, how are you doing?
I am doing lovely. For those of you who are listening to the podcast, which is everybody, if you are hearing what I'm saying,
oh no!
Oh no!
Time to take my birth control.
Oh golly. Yeah, you're getting needed after what happened 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
When I came inside you.
Yeah. We were wearing 2 condoms, so we were being prepared.
I was double strapped. And you stealthed me because you took it off while you were bottoming.
Yeah, it's just that tight. It just it just wraps around.
It just ate it.
Pulls it out.
That's some of the most haunting imagery I have heard all day. Anyway, so
you might have to.
I might have to censor a bit of that. Anyway.
Oh my god.
Oh, that's terrible. Anyway, for those of you who are listening to the podcast, which of course is all of you, I recently started doing vocal training for my transition and all that such. So I'm going to be forcing myself to talk in a way that I do not normally talk, so I don't get murdered by cis people. So that's going to be a really fun time. And Adam, don't look at me like that.
Oh, I'm not.
Put the knife down.
It just really helps with
getting
this
into
beard
character
into a nice form. It just.
Think of this as
Big
practice.
doesn't do it for me anymore.
Think of this as practice for how I'm gonna try and organize my thoughts And if I fall out of it, it's going to happen. So just know that I'm making a solid attempt.
Yeah, this will be like an interesting logbook of your voice and the progression. It's gonna eventually turn into whatever.
It's super interesting because it's like, so, and I know I've talked about this to you at length, but I haven't spoken to the audience about it. Hello, audience.
Cue them in. Hello, friend.
Hi,
Come
Kyle.
in. Hi.
So, actually, it's more likely that your name, if you're listening to this podcast, is Oliver. So,
Oliver. Ooh. I do
love that name, but
he's a great human.
So, and as is the day we are recording this, it is Trans Visibility Day. So it will not be coming out on that day, unfortunately. But so, like in tandem with that, my brain was like, "Oh, share trans facts." So I had a fun one. And this is for the folks who are kind of unaccustomed to it. This is pretty much common knowledge to anybody who has undergone transition or has a friend who is transitioning and such. So when it comes to the changing of the voice for trans men, they have it both easier and harder in that testosterone, i.e. the hormone that they take themselves, which changes their muscle structure and a bunch of other stuff, which is awesome. And if you're on testosterone, like, power to you. I love you so much. You're doing amazing. And it also stretches your vocal cords. There's one big problem with that, though, in that a lot of trans men tend to lose some of the ability to control it that they had before they started taking it, which is a very unfortunate thing. Trans women don't usually have this problem. For vocal training on their end, it's more the socialization of it and the getting your body to resonate your voice in a certain direction. So trans women don't usually have that problem. It just takes a little bit longer. Fun fact. Anyway, Adam, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I most recently got my first shot for the coronavirus vaccine. Blah, 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 blah.
Add some horns to your future feed.
Wait, what'd you say?
Add some horns.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, like the little party streamer. It's just gonna be like me going.
Or what'll actually be is just.
Like
yeah,
the Jack and Daxter failing the fishing mission set where it's like.
So yeah, I got
some
my
scary shit. If you're alone in the car listening to this.
Oogala boogala. Yeah, so I got my first shot. It wasn't really that bad. I mean, I know that it affects everyone differently.
What is it like?
I live in the Cleveland area in Ohio. So the big center that we've been using for like max vaccination plan, we've been using the Wolstein Center at Cleveland State University, which is this big basketball / hockey arena, because I think there's ice underneath the basketball ring. Basketball ring? I do not know anything about sports.
It's when people are fighting each other in
basketball field, with the nets.
Court? I think it's court.
Court. That's what it is.
Are you courting me, Adam?
How did you know? And the way that it was set up was there was all these chairs that were 6 feet apart. It looked like
like some kind of blood drive at like your high school.
Yeah, a little bit, but just like more social
where they're like,
distancing.
Check it out, you get out of algebra and you get 2 bags of sun chips.
We actually didn't get anything. We just got like a little piece of paper that said, "Come back in a month."
Awesome.
So who knows? Maybe after the second dose, we'll get a bag of chips. We walked through like a maze base, if that's what it felt like, and at every corner there was someone being like, "Oh, we're just gonna check your temperature. Okay, good. You're gonna go to the next station." And then the next station was just like, "Okay, do you have an appointment?" And then I would be like, "Okay, I do," and just be like, "Okay, what's the number?" Okay, you're gonna go to the next station. And then it was like a line where it was just like, okay, we're gonna walk this way, and then we're gonna go down this row. Okay, this row is filled up. No, we're gonna go down this one. And there was a lot of handsome army men. Ooh me, oh
with
my.
the booty.
With the booty, with the arms and the boobies, and I
and
love...
the huge mommy milkers.
And the huge
oh my god,
ones.
can I get a big titty goth?
I think you can put in a request when you make your appointment.
Finally.
But I am very weary of needles. For those of you who don't know, I don't know if you know this.
I don't think I
but
do.
I broke my nose at like the beginning of November, or at the end of summer, beginning of fall. And I was watching The Exorcist, and there's a scene in The Exorcist where I remember it distinctively. Not a lot of other people remember it, but she's in the hospital, Linda Blair. She's in the hospital, and it's right after the bed shakes. And they're, like, doing all sorts of tests, and she's, like, in this setup where she's getting a needle through her throat, like, right under her voice box, or right... The larynx, and Adam's apple and shit. And I look away whenever I get my shots, whenever I go to the doctor, or whenever I get blood work. So I was starting to feel a little lightheaded. So I went to my kitchen table, put my head down, woke up face first in the kitchen floor because I lost control of my body.
Is that why you took that poorly timed nap last night?
Last night?
Or was that a different day? Because you took a nap last night. We were going to record the podcast.
I mean, last night, I took a poorly timed nap because
we were going to record this yesterday.
Yeah,
which
because I had smoked a little weed. And
last 2 episodes ago was our drug episode. We can't have it be this one, too.
It'll just be a little bit. But I smoked some weed and took a nap, and I woke up and I was like, oh, god damn it. And so I passed out face first into the kitchen floor because I lost control of my body.
God.
And
you broke your nose on the
broke
ground?
my nose, yeah.
Oh no.
And so that night I had smoked a little weed. And I had never passed out from weed. So I
pass out from weed almost every time.
So I know for me it
wasn't
weed. It really was like the needle going through the neck of Linda Blair, because I had watched something else with needles and I had passed out then, and I was stone cold.
I have a similar.
Can I finish my?
Yeah, go ahead with your.
Real quick, I tend to,
ADHD energy. It's okay.
ADHD energy. So I was sitting in the Wolstein Center, literally surrounded by people getting their shots. And I was like,
oh no, I forgot about this part.
And I was just like, I
forgot about the needle part.
Yeah, forgot about the needle part. So I was just admiring the drapery hanging from the top of the basketball court. And they got to me, and it was pretty fast. And it was a well-oiled machine. Like, I thought it was very well put together.
Just kind of like, beep.
Yeah, congrats to everyone involved, anyone who has volunteered to get people their vaccinations. Good on ya. You've been doing good, at least in Cleveland, Ohio.
Part way out of the woods, I guess.
We're so close. The end is near. We can see the end of the tunnel. We're not there.
The end is not near. The end is not nigh. The end is near.
It's visible.
Yes. So on the note of like you having a visceral reaction to something that happens in a movie, me and my dad have the same reaction to the same scene in the same movie. Back in like
what is that movie?
Back in the early 2000s, Will Ferrell started a film named called Elf.
My dad loves that movie.
And in the movie Elf, there is a part where Buddy, Will Ferrell's character, is just stuffing cotton balls in his mouth, and me and my dad were just... It's truly the worst thing ever. And
it is a little disgusting that he puts a cotton ball in his mouth that supposedly has his blood on it.
Also that. Well, I mean, that's the only part of it that's kind of hot. Anyway,
stop that right now.
Well, the weird thing is that, like, so I did my nails last night, so, like, I'm not...
Can't you see?
Yeah, can you see? I did, like, a little checkerboard red and black. I think
I
it's
like
very
it.
pretty.
They're cute.
But to get the rest of the nail polish that I had off, I had to use cotton balls. And I'm okay with using cotton balls if there's nail polish remover on them, because at least they're wet to some degree. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, they're just this skin crawly kind of sensation that goes along with it, and I hate it so much. A friend of mine, when I was a kid, pranked me while I was at his house sleeping over, and when I came out of the bathroom, he had double-sided taped a bunch of cotton balls onto his doorknob, and I didn't notice, because I told him that apparently somebody had done it to my dad when he was in the military, so I told that story, and he used it against me.
Oh my god.
Oh my god, it was... It's like, it's worse than eating a raw fish.
No condom on a fish?
Well, like, the rubbery...
They better be on prep.
Well, that's the thing, is that it's like, you know, the rubbery part kind of cooks it up, you know, while it's in there. Kind of warms it up, gives it a nice little blanket to fold it into. Hi fish. I hope my fish in my tank is having a great time listening to us talk about eating his kin.
Oh my goodness.
I also drew the name fucker with a smiley face on the tank because I thought that would be appealing to him. I don't know, maybe he can read. Maybe he's like Dory.
Dory, yeah.
Dory can read.
342 P Wallaby.
Yeah.
Cindy.
I hate that I hate that I remember the exact address.
What's the address?
P. Sherman, 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney.
I mean, she says it a million times.
I know, but I haven't seen the movie in like 10 years.
Did you watch it a lot when you were younger?
Not really. I watched it like the same level that like any other kid would watch it, like because it came out when I was a kid. So it was like it was all over TV. So
that is a wide range because watching my nephew grow up, he watches movies a million times.
Oh, I did the same
my
shit.
sister can quote them the amount of times that they've seen them. So when you say a normal time that a kid can see a movie,
you know what? That's fair.
It might be enough that you would remember this address.
Well, the funny part is okay. So the movie that I watched the most when I was like a little kid, and Mom, if you're watching this, you know exactly which one it is. I watched Emperor's New Groove so much I wore out the VHS tape.
Not the VHS tape.
And then I remember on the subject, oh my god. I don't know if I ever told you about this. Okay. So, my parents presumably had to be very wary of buying new tech and cool stuff because like 2 days after my dad brought a computer tower home, keep in mind, this is like 2004 or like 2002 or something like that, where having a home computer is still kind of new. It's not really a thing that a lot of people have.
It was being normalized a little bit more.
Yeah, being normalized.
It was more affordable.
I was obsessed with the show Blue's Clues, and I thought I could send money to Blue from Blue's Clues by putting it into the disk drive of the computer tower. So my dad is wondering, like, how come my computer's not turning on? What's going on? And then he hit it, and, like, change rattled around. I don't remember if I actually got in trouble.
Oh my god.
I think it was one of those, like, oh, she doesn't know what she's doing, like, whatever. But my favorite instance, and this one is so funny to me, apparently I tried to send a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to Blue, the dog, one of the two dog characters from a PBS show.
Nickelodeon.
And I put it into the VCR.
No!
Because I figured it's the perfect size for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I mean...
And boy, did it get stuck.
That's a big-ass sandwich.
Like, boy, did it get stuck in there.
Wow.
And so that was fun.
I'm sorry for everything I've done and for jamming 10 cookies into the VCR.
Yeah, I'm very sorry about that. A lot of property damage that happened on my account.
Wow.
Including the time when I scraped up the couch by filing down one of my nails to be like a claw and just like scraped up the couch cushions.
Oh my god!
I don't know if I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I was the worst. And I remain the worst. Like, I'm still terrible. But at least I don't actively destroy property. Now I just...
Anymore.
I just intrinsically destroy property. And there's a big difference, and it's important that we all recognize that there is a difference to me putting a peanut butter and jelly sandwich into a VCR and destroying a company from the inside.
And destroying the structure of capitalism.
I'm doing my damnedest. Dang it. We can only do so much. Which actually reminds me, and this was the only story when we started the podcast where I was like, I have to tell this story at some point. This is one of my favorite stories, and it's not even that funny.
All right.
So, back in like, I want to say like 2012 or 13. Yeah. I was like 15 years old. Okay. Or somewhere around there. I was much older.
That is younger than you are now.
True. I was a minor. Oh. I wasn't in high school.
A minor.
Minor. Just my favorite fish. But, so, I was at a Christmas party, and I was at this time much older than all of my younger cousins. I remained the same amount of old, because that is how time works.
Same amount of old!
So, we're at a Christmas party, and kind of part of what I ended up doing at Christmas parties, and every party that had adults who brought their kids along, was I was the one who watched all the kids, and, like, kind of kept them entertained. Which I didn't really mind so much, because it was like, I don't know, I liked it. They were cool kids, and I liked hanging out with them.
Yeah, my parties, it was always like, oh, Adam, there's children.
Maybe you'll get along.
Out.
Yeah.
And it's like, because you're all children. Isn't that something that you can talk about?
It's the same thing as, like, when you're gay. It's like, check it out. You two are gay. Isn't that enough in common for you to fall in love?
Meanwhile, it's like, nuh-uh, he likes Beyonce, I like Lady Gaga. That is fundamental difference.
You don't like RuPaul's Drag Race? I do not like RuPaul's Drag Race.
But I love and adore
RuPaul's Drag Race. So, and the reason that it being Christmas is relevant. So,
it's Christmas.
They have, like, this CRT TV, like, set up with this tape of a Dora Christmas special on it. And I watched Dora a lot when I was a kid. I really liked it. So, I'm watching it, and it takes place as some kind of Swiper Christmas tale kind of thing. Ooh. For those of you who don't know who Swiper is, he is this fox who is a thieving bastard who will steal your shit, not even keep it or sell it on the black market, and he'll just take it from you and throw it away like an asshole. He's like the absolute worst, and he should be canceled. Yeah. Anyway.
But get this, his kryptonite are the words, swiper, no swiping.
Exactly. And
which... that is so hard to say.
Magic. It's like enchanting words. It's like what Dumbledore said. He was like, words are, in my not so humble opinion, the most inexhaustible resource of magic.
Favorite quote from a Harry Potter movie? Boom!
There it is. Anyway, so I'm watching it, and it's like, oh, Ghost of Christmas, like, now.
Future?
Present. Ghost of Christmas now. And I don't remember what it was. It wasn't that memorable. It's like, oh no, you're a thieving person. People don't like you. And he was like,
was it like
he's
Christmas
like, that's
Carol?
Yeah. Oh. He's like, that's not true. Meh, meh, meh. And then it's like Ghost of Christmas Past, and they were like, check it out. This is what it was like when you were a baby fox. And he was like, oh, I was baby fox. And then it's Christmas Future. So this is 10 years in the future. Dora and Boots are still 9.
Wow.
So he's old man fox, despite the fact that foxes live to be like 35 or something like that. I don't actually think it's that old. They live for a while. But so Dora and Boots are celebrating Christmas. They're like passing presents around, and she's all like, Spanish! And then you hear the signature noise of the Swiper Fox. The and they're all like, what the hecky is going on? And old Swiper appears in the distance, and like the ghosty Swiper that's like getting carted around by the ghost is all like, what's happening or whatever. And then Swiper comes out, and he's like in the bush or something, and they're like, do you know where Swiper is? And he's like slightly to the left. So he pops out of the bush, and they were like, alright, we need your help. So they're like, Swiper, no swiping. It gets closer. And like, presents, like, normal Swiper's like fighting his fingernails, right? He's tense.
Wait, does it sometimes not work?
Oh, shit! She's like, she's like, louder! Swiper, no swiping! And everybody in the room at this point, by the way, is like, swiper, no swiping! Like, as loud as humanly possible.
Wait, at your Christmas party?
Yeah. I mean, they're children, so. And then he gets ever closer. He's like right up on him. And she's like, swiper, no swiping! And he says this, and I'll never forget it. He looks her dead in her Hispanic eyes and goes, that doesn't work anymore! And just and I'm like, what? I rushed out of the room. I was banging up against doorways and stuff, and like all the adults are in the middle of a conversation, and I would never normally interrupt my dad, especially when I was a kid, to do anything. And I was like, Dad, you've got to see this. And he was like, what? All right. So he like got up, assuming that he was like about to see like a child covered in blood. He came back, and I rewound it, and it got to that doesn't work anymore. And my dad looked at the TV like, wait, what? What do you mean that doesn't work anymore? You can just shrug it off now?
That's what we call character development.
I know. And then Swiper's like, please, Mr. Ghost, sir, I promise I'll be good. And then the ghost is like, and then that's how it ends. I can't remember.
And Nickelodeon Jr. put that episode
and
in
they
the vault,
that up,
and they never showed it again.
They put that up right before Happy Appy and Max and Irma. Or not Max and Irma, but
those
what is it? Max and
Ruby. Restaurants.
Happy Appy is a creepypasta, and Max and Irma is a local restaurant. It has very good cookies, by the way. But
they had a tub that you could go up to, and it was a Sunday bar.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought it was so cool. For some reason, the ice cream also tasted so much better.
We actually worked with a lady before we left that worked at Max and Irma's for a little bit.
Who?
I don't remember her name, but she had like the multicolored hair and worked in the warehouse. I mean, don't name drop somebody on the podcast because I don't know who she is.
I don't know her name, but I
do not know her name. Also, I want to talk about this before the controversy dies down. So
the controversy.
So Lil Nas X uploaded a video for his song. What is it called? Like
Call Me by Your Name, Montero?
Montenero or something like that.
Yeah, Montero.
Montero. I think it's Montero. Yeah, you know the one.
You know the one.
If you're listening to the podcast, you know which one it is. Even though very likely the whole controversy for it has died down by the time that this podcast will go up. But
I mean, it's still going. Who knows?
Yeah, but it was uploaded 2 days ago.
Straight people have a fascination with gay shit, so
they were like, and I don't understand how. First off, everybody's gonna get super upset about it, and two, I don't understand how you're gonna look at that and not go, that shit's hot,
right?
Because it is. It's like, don't be upset that you want Lil Nas to bottom for you. It's not a big deal, and you're allowed to want that. Maybe even talk about it on TikTok. He'll maybe feature you on his page. He's known for doing that. It's a very sweet gesture of his. But
yeah,
all I'm saying is
at 6'9".
All I'm saying is, like, people who are upset about that, primarily Christian people, and we'll go out and say this. Obviously, not all people who subscribe to the Christian faith are bad. In that, especially in my own philosophy of human beings, in that no one is bad. Mm-hmm. But not all Christian people are upset by it. However, the ones who are upset by it. My question to you, I suppose, and I'm not trying to offend anybody or like crawl under anybody's skin or whatever, but when they want to use satanic imagery, why is it bad? Versus when anybody else wants to use it. And now it's suddenly okay.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that...
Pick your battles, guys.
Very, very pick your battles. And I'm not saying that these are literally the exact same people. But to me, it seems like... Well, actually, scratch that, reverse that, put that thing, flip it,
Flip,
and
snap,
reverse it.
yeah.
It's your phone machine, yeah.
Yo, call me the machine, yeah.
DJ
Donkey Kong.
Boom, boom. Anyways, but so there, I've heard of these, and I think they existed where I grew up, where some churches around Halloween time would have haunted houses, but not the type of haunted houses that you're thinking of, where it's like zombies and shit like that.
Are you
it's
talking
like
about the ones that have like sexual assault in them and stuff?
it's like the deadly sins,
Yeah.
like being gay, having AIDS, doing drugs.
They have a list of sins called
Being black.
the 7
Like-
deadly sins. And they thought, not those.
Killing yourself. That is in, like, so the one that there's been news articles about this.
Sorry, I'm grabbing
No,
the
you're
pretzels.
good. I think I'm gonna have some
I'm sorry,
pretzels, too.
podcast. Pretzel
we're-
break.
Yeah, pretzel break. We're gonna cut this out.
Are we?
Maybe, I don't know. You're in
You're
charge.
asking me if I'm cutting it.
So we're gonna cut this, right?
Editor.
Editor-in-chief!
You have like one of those like landline phones. It's just like, editor, could you please add in right now 2 fart noises and a football whistle, please?
I don't even know what a football whistle sounds like.
Yeah, it's like, beep. Editor, add it in right now.
Anyways, so you go through this haunted house, and it's like obviously people from the congregation that are trying to spread the good Lord Jesus and His word by showing people these awful things to scare them into thinking that they'll never do it. It's very
Culty.
It's very culty, and it's very brimstone and what is that phrase? Brimstone and briar, or brimstone and fire. I don't know. Brimstone. And it ended with someone shooting themselves in the face, but as soon as they pulled the trigger, the lights went off, and they sprayed mist water, so it felt like you got blood on you from the person shooting themselves.
That's
Meanwhile, but snapping the neck of the devil, too far. Like being a bottom, too far.
That's way too bad.
Meanwhile,
This is totally cool.
shit her pants Caitlin from Kent State is married to a bottom, and people are dragging her. I've seen
that
on
Caitlin
Facebook.
Bennett?
Yes.
Yeah. Apparently it came out that, like, her boyfriend is totally into gay porn, which, like, be into gay porn?
Did not know that.
Oh, you didn't?
I just looked.
This is
now.
all, by the way, I did not, like, this is all secondhand stuff, so, like, if you want to look it up, please do. So anything that we say from here on out regarding the subject could totally be wrong.
And Caitlin Bennett, I know you're listening to this.
Which you are.
Which I know you're a frequent listener of the Awful Podcast.
Yeah.
Because you are pretty awful.
Yeah.
And
And we just want to let you know.
if you're interested, you can come on the show. We'll talk. We'll beef it out.
Yeah, and we'll fuck your boyfriend.
We'll fuck your boyfriend. And to cap it off, we'll all shit our pants.
Finally. Yeah, Caitlin Bennett and Ben Shapiro. If you're watching this podcast, which I know you are.
I know you are.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
Add the NFL theme right here, editor.
But also, bring it up a half a tone to not copyright us.
I think I could just like slow it down a little bit. But anyway, I'm really glad that 35 minutes into the podcast that we like devolved back into fart humor.
It is
our natural
basis.
habitat.
It is the basis of all comedy.
Exactly.
Norbert, the love guru. You know, classic cinema.
The ladies' man.
The ladies'
Good
man.
fellas.
Good.
Batman versus Superman.
Batman and Robin, you know.
Well, I mean, that was a lot of people's gay awakening. It's like, okay,
wasn't mine,
the
but
number
I see it,
one on each side, as far as I know. The biggest gay awakening things were Batman and Robin, that scene where Robin is suiting up.
Mm-hmm.
And for lesbians, any scene where Kim Possible and Shigo are fighting.
Ooh, interesting.
Any of those. Because let's be real, Shigo can peg me.
Okay.
She could do even worse than that. I'm going to censor all this out. Or will I? Editor, please.
Choose fun noises to censor it out.
Instead
I'll send you some.
Instead of the beep noise, just at a horrifying scream. I'm talking like something where if you heard it in the night, you would like put your car's title on the ground just to see if that would work to get them to stop chasing you.
Like, you can have it!
I'll even put the amount of money it takes to transfer it. Which is like $300, by the way. You're not going to know that, but...
Wow.
Boy, did I not know that.
A horror film where it's just like, okay, we're gonna figure this out.
Yeah. You know what's funny? There's a podcast that I listen to, and they're hilarious, but you guys might not like them. I've shown Adam some of their stuff before. But they mentioned a question on one of their recent podcasts. Or I don't want to say recent, because it won't be recent anymore. But they mentioned a question on one of their podcasts. This is the Super Mega Cast, by the way, in case you want to check them out. They're really hilarious guys. Mm-hmm. Not affiliated, by the way. We've never met. But
this video is sponsored by Super Mega.
Oh, God. It is not, by the way.
It is not. It is not sponsored.
We do have to say that. But they were wondering, like, how does anal feel? Right? And I know you didn't think that this is where we were going on the podcast, but it was leading up to this the whole time.
Anal. This is the pinnacle of what the first episodes have led up to.
First episodes. First 4 episodes.
Yes.
There's something so funny to me about like just dropping the audio and then just 4. It's like when you're trying something, like you're trying to censor something that's not the thing that's supposed to be censored. Like it's like, I'm gonna fuck you in the ass and then we're gonna eat sandwiches. That's not my joke, but anyway. So go ahead and tell us how anal feels, Adam.
So I was in New York.
That's how it feels.
I was in New York.
You ever been on the subway in New York? Mm-hmm. Anal.
So I was in New York for spring break when I went to college. I mean, it really doesn't matter if I say where I went. I went to college at Bowling Green State University. And it really isn't that different or add anything to the story. But, you know, just in case you were curious and want to stalk me.
I swear to God, if somebody doxes you in the comments, I will shut down the internet.
I will shut it down!
Shut the whole cookie operation down. I don't know why I just quoted Kevin Hart. That was very unlike me, but go ahead.
Go off. So, I was in New York, and my brother used to be an actor and moved to New York for that reason. Majored in musical theater in college, tried it for 2 years, was in the business, was working, found that he wasn't happy himself, left the business, went through a bunch of different jobs, and now works for a medicinal marijuana company. And has moved back to Ohio. But at this point, he was still working in New York, had a life there, had a boyfriend, etc., etc. And one of his friends from his acting past was like, oh, you're into acting, and you want to do auditions here. I'm doing an acting class. You should sit in just because why not? And you're like here for a week, so why not do some cool stuff while you're here? And I was like, absolutely. And it was such a weird theater class, and I ate it up. It was also the gayest theater class I've ever been to. But it was in the LGBTQ center of New York City or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, that's what I found so cool, because it wasn't like, oh, you are for example, a trans woman or a non-binary person or a person who is in a polyamorous relationship, and that is not something that you find on Netflix. Like, you'll never get work. Like, that's not what they focused on. Mm-hmm. It was very much like, no, I want to see that on Netflix. Like, that should be your story. You should write about that. Or, like, I think that there is definitely some Shakespearean work out there that this non-binary person would kill the fuck out, because there's just a talented person.
Yeah.
So it was very, I loved the energy that like stemmed from that room. And it started off very much stemming from the ballroom culture of Harlem in the 90s. Mm-hmm. If you've seen Pose or Paris is Burning, they started off with like, they just played music and was just like, okay, we're going to have a category and you're just going to work the runway. And then that's just like how we're going to warm up. Mm-hmm. And it was so much fun, because they were like, okay, build it up, like build up the walk, mm-hmm. like elevate it somehow. And like some people like took off their shirts. Like there was people that had just had top surgery done, taking off their shirts and just like I was like, oh my god,
solidarity.
It was so great. And one of the acting exercises that they did was they just literally improv'd and talked about whatever they wanted, but the acting person every so often would give like different prompts of like where to go and like how to deliver it. Mm-hmm. And one of the prompts was like, talk about how it feels to be a bottom. And
I was wondering how
it was all gonna connect.
This was gonna connect. And I was like, is he just trying to change the subject?
No,
it's not working. Everybody's still wondering how it feels.
And he went on this beautiful improvised monologue about when, like, how you're preparing for it, you're mentally putting yourself in the mind of like, I am going to take it and it is going to feel so good. And then he was like, and then you have to really position yourself so that you can just slide on it and just have it enter in. And he went into detail, and the part that really stuck out to me, he was like, and you know when you really feel it, you feel it right inside, right here. And he pointed toward his stomach. He was like, that's how it feels. And I was like, I think I was like a junior in college at this point, or I was in my third year.
So inexperienced, so we shall say.
Inexperienced in general, had definitely like had 2 years under my belt of like, I'm a gay and I know how this shit works. So it wasn't like rocking my, like, I had heard of bottoming before, like, yeah. I knew what the whole rigmarole was about.
My whole world.
Yeah. But it rocked my world, like, the fact that he was talking so openly about it.
As if it was, like, just as passionate as just kissing someone.
Yeah, and also just as beautiful as the rise and fall of Richard III. Like,
yeah.
It was,
it's
so wonderful.
It's funny, too, like, just, like, describing things from a romantic standpoint, too. I was talking, I think I talked about this with you before, okay. And I talked to my girlfriend about it, too, because, like, this is something that I so badly want, so bad, and I can't explain why. Mm-hmm. I so badly want to embody, like, the aunt that you don't know what they do for a living. You don't even know how they earn money. You're presuming that they do because, like, when they come by, she's got, like, a new outfit on or, like, a pretty necklace, maybe some new rings or something like that, and her hair's done up all cute and shit. And, like, it's just the two ladies that just appear at family functions. One of them is so loud, the other one is not very loud. And I want to grow old as, like, the lady who, like, still plays D&D and will, like, teach teenagers how to do it. Not in, like, a weird way, just in, like, a... like, I so
Sort
badly...
of like in an endearing way.
Yeah.
Sort of like an 80s movie where it's the end where it's just like, now I'm going to teach my kids about what the adventures that I
want to embody the same energy that Robin Williams did in Dead Poet Society. I know I mentioned that last podcast, but like that's one of my favorite movies and I've only seen it once. But...
Don't hate me. Haven't seen it.
It's really good. You should take a look at it.
I really should.
But it's
because
very...
I love Robin Williams.
Well, it's a very like... all these kids who are like restricted by their parents and their culture and their yada yada and the school.
Gonna cry?
And he's like, nah, man, it's all cool. Do whatever you want to do. Be whoever you want to be. Follow your dreams and stuff. And I'm not going to spoil it for you, but yes, you will.
Oh.
But and I know this because I
maybe
cried.
not tonight. I'm in my feelings and I don't want to cry.
Oh no. Who knows? Maybe that's the best time to watch it. But
true.
I so badly want to embody the person that like somebody would feel comfortable telling me something that they wouldn't necessarily tell their parents, and not in like a, oh my god, I killed a guy, like, how do I hide the body, but just in like, I don't know, this girl, and like we're going out on a date, and I don't know like what I should say or like what I should wear or whatever. I'll just be like, step inside and fucking put your collar down. First off, like, we're gonna do your hair, and like I want to be like. I want to be somebody that, like, everybody can be comfortable around, despite the fact that I am so unbelievably loud and obnoxious that a lot of people...
You want to be intriguing.
Yeah, I want to be an intriguing person. I want to be the neighbor that lives in your apartment or condo complex or whatever, that everybody knows that they live there. Everybody knows what's in their house. And everybody knows, like, just that you can't rob them. That'd be fucked up.
Like, based on the fact that their house is just so warm, or you just, by the noises that come out of that apartment, you know what's in that apartment.
Either that. A little bit of both, actually. It's like, wow, it's such a nice, warm, cultivating environment, and I know they fuck. Like, harder and, like, louder and better than anybody in this fucking complex or whatever. If you want a good fuck, you go to them, but also don't, because they'll end up like making you lemon squares, and you'll like have a chat about something that you did when you were 15 and how it still haunts you and how you should like get over your demons and stuff. I really want to be that person.
I know exactly that type of person that would fit in my family structure, and I know exactly how my family, like, particular, like, if it was like you were my aunt and that's how you were just living your life, and my mom and dad like went to this family function and we were on the car ride home and they would just be like, yeah, they do that, and they wouldn't say anything about it, never explain it, because
there's no explaining it.
Yeah, and like this isn't like spilling my family's tea. Like, this is just like public record. Yeah. Like, we have a court like mandate that says that this is how it is. Like, I don't have like an NDNA that's like, do not talk about this.
Well, I don't imagine any of us have an NDNA to not talk about how
or NDA
feels.
Not NDNA.
NDNA.
But I have an aunt who is a lesbian and an uncle who is gay.
Hell yeah.
And that information wasn't really...
like, secretive or anything?
Well, it wasn't brought up to me. It wasn't, to my knowledge, growing up until I was in high school, when it really started to, like...
It just wasn't, like, brought up even because it wasn't relevant. Like, it never mattered.
They were there, and they were at family functions, but that they just never talked about that. We talked about everything else except for... Uncle Bob's roommate.
Yeah.
Robert. Like, I don't know. Bob and Robert.
Bob and Bob.
Bob and Bob.
New sitcom on ABC where it's incredibly racist.
Probably.
And all the females are any blonde woman.
And guess what? They don't have a personality.
And one of them is Tommy Lauren.
And that, but that wasn't really brought up. And I was recently talking to my brother about this, and we were talking about how, like, it was, like, that because that wasn't really brought up when we were growing up, when we were experiencing that feelings, we weren't able to, like, talk to a family member that had also gone through those experiences when they were younger and talk openly about it, because that wasn't really... I don't know what was common knowledge, because I was a child and I was fed what I was fed by my parents.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what was common knowledge among people. But that wasn't common knowledge to me.
Yeah.
That they never told me that they were gay. So it was sort of interesting looking back and being like, would my life have been different if I had known
if you knew earlier?
Yeah, if I had known earlier that I had a gay uncle and a gay aunt, because I also found out through a moment of sort of trauma, or things were verified through a moment of trauma.
Oh,
because one day when I went to school, I was informed by one of my busmates that the entire track team at my grade school just decided that I was gay.
Oh.
And this was before I was even comfortable. Like, I was...
Before that, like, had even entered your brain as something that you should be thinking of?
Well, I was thinking of, and I was very defensive about it. Like, I was very much like, no, straight people can do musical theater and, like, be a little feminine and still like girls. Yeah. But, like, I'm a gay. Like,
Let's go ahead and call a spade a spade.
Yeah, it's a hat and a hat. Like, but I was still very defensive about it, and I think it was I think what made me come out even later was, like, people
just deciding for you.
Yeah, deciding for me, and, like, not even putting my thoughts or my actual experiences into consideration.
Well, not even just that, like, the fact that it's not... First off, not only A, is it not up to them, B, it's not their fucking business.
Yeah, and I had no agency in it at all.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, like, high schoolers, as much as...
this was grade school.
That's what I mean, is that it's, like, as much as, like, quote, children develop a sense of empathy when they're, like, 7 or whatever, people don't fully develop one until who God fucking knows when.
It depends on the neighborhood, honestly.
Depends on the people, honestly.
And at that point... I was identifying as straight. I had a quote-unquote girlfriend at that point. It was grade school.
That was probably weird for her, too. Like,
yeah, and I had went home and I had started crying about it. And my mom did love you, Mom, but she did not handle it well. And that's when she revealed that, like, my uncle was gay. Like, and I was like, that's not what I wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Because, like, when my mind was like, you're not going to get married, you're not going to have kids, you're not going to be able to do all this stuff because you're gay. And because I was raised Catholic. And
it's like, great, I'm also, by happenstance, going to hell. Whee!
Yeah, and at that point, not to call it my uncle, but, like, he was struggling with the drinks at that point. So he was not necessarily, like, in the best light in my mind. Because he was going through a rough time at that point. And so, like, revealing that on top of that, I was like, that's not what I want to hear. But then my sister came in and was just like, these asshole of children, they will not make it in life. Like, they will not go far because of how disrespectful they are.
And because
to
of
people.
how much fucking effort that they put into, like, to their perspective, putting somebody down.
Yeah, and if, and not saying that, like, being gay is a bad thing, but in that mind, at that time of my life, I thought that being gay was a bad thing.
You are socialized by other people your age who think that it's a bad thing, that it is one.
Yes.
And the louder voices take over the softer and calmer ones.
Exactly. And the way that my sister comforted me in that moment was like, once you... which most people don't have this experience, but she was like, once you get to high school, it'll get a lot better. Like, you won't be able to hear these assholes. And I know for a lot of queer people... I wish you could see my face right now. Yeah, for a lot of queer people, high school is a bad time. But for me, that was really when I was able to, like, find my tribe. And I just sort of, like, stuck within that bubble. And
also, you, like, track people bully you? Ew.
Well, so my grade
I'm just kidding, of course.
There was, like, 25 people in our grade, and maybe 8 boys. So everyone knew everyone.
Awesome.
So even there was not even a chance for me to like ignore them and like go to the other side of the school and just like not see them and then just like out of sight.
It was like 8 of them are in your classes.
Yeah, it was like I had no one to really like. This is getting a little sad, but I had no one to really talk to because like no one was into musical theater except for the girls. But it was like weird to talk to the girls for some ungodly reason.
I never understood that.
Kids are weird.
Or it's weird because like so as I've said and will continue to say until I'm a corpse, I was shit. I was a pretty big shit when I was younger, which means that the phrase quote never understood that means that after some semblance of reflection, I now didn't understand it. Yeah. But like when I was growing up, I was very non-observant about the societal areas of it. It was very like, I don't get girls because I like anime, and it's like, no, you don't get girls because you're like the worst person ever. So maybe work on yourself, and you'll maybe get some. So that was fun. I had a very different coming out experience.
Okay.
So I am bisexual, which is kind of funny. Because by all definitions of pansexual, I should be pansexual, but I'm not because I like the colors of the flag better. Anyway,
I'm aesthetically bisexual.
By the way, for those of you who are curious, and I don't actually know, I don't know if there's like some kind of quote canon definition or difference between pansexual and bisexual, but the only thing that I know is that bisexual is the attraction to one or more, at least more than one gender. And pansexual is the attraction to all of them. Now, I don't want to say that bisexual is inherently exclusive of one. Because I'm going to be honest, I have no idea. Yeah, I identified when I was bisexual when I was 16, and I've just kind of kept it there. Despite how many times me getting suddenly horny made me think, maybe I am straight, and then times where I'm like, maybe I am gay, and now I'm just kind of like, no, I'm definitely bisexual. But so I came out to my parents right after I had shaved my legs, which so that's a separate fun thing. Okay. I was also going through a fun femboy phase, not knowing what the hell that could possibly mean,
or what that can turn into,
what that could entail, and browsing on fucking 4chan. That, by the way, if you browse on 4chan, I don't want to say shame on you, because you already know, but don't do that anymore. There's better places to find porn. But, anyway.
My Vidster.
Here it is. OnlyFans. As much as it costs money, at least you're supporting a friend.
Yeah, but supporting a small business.
So I came out to my parents in a very, like... So, and my parents never at any point gave me the impression that, like, it would be weird or, like, that they wouldn't accept me or anything. But there's always that thing in the back of your head of, like, what if? Like, what if I've made a massive miscalculation, a horrible misjudgment in people that I've known for 20-odd years? Yeah. And keep in mind, there are a lot of people out there who don't have it as easy as me, or as easy as Adam possibly had.
No, I mean, I do recognize that I come from a place of privilege.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, like there are people that do not have a home.
Much less fortunate than us. And to all of those people, we wish you all the strength in the world and all of the luck that you can get getting away from a possibly abusive situation or anything like that. We hope that you pull through strong. Just know that you've got swingers out here and we're rooting for you.
Yeah. Anyway, the important thing is that you stay alive and that it will get better.
Definitely stay alive. That is a big one.
Yeah.
So I was like, I wanted to talk about, I had an announcement, and they were like, okay. My dad, like, paused his game, which he never does. He's very, like, play the game and also look at you and, like, I'm listening. And you're like, are you? Anyway, and I'm sure he is, because he does recollect random fucking things that are like, how the fuck do you... I don't even remember telling you that. But, who knows, maybe he's just, like, looking through my emails. And I was like, I think I'm bisexual. And they were like, that's it. And they're like, oh, that's it? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we kind of guessed. And I was like, what the fuck you mean mean you guessed? My dad was like, you walk with a lisp, honey. Like,
I don't know how I feel about when people respond way.
I usually don't like it. The only reason that I liked it was because it was much better than the alternative.
Yes.
But
that is true.
For in the future, when people come out to you, saying that you guessed it does slightly invalidate like the courage that comes along with wanting to come out to begin with. Yeah. Because it almost makes you feel dumb for ever thinking that it could have been an issue, even though slightly they don't want to make you feel dumb. They want, like, they're curious as to why you ever would have thought it would have been a problem. But it's, keep in mind, it is socialized to be a bad thing to a lot of people. So bear that in mind. Just bear in mind that it's like that is very likely really hard for them because they don't know how you're going to react. So
that's just for me is always a divisive one because sometimes people respond like, "Oh, well then why didn't you tell me?" Like,
and it's like,
and then it becomes a little bit like a
accusatory.
Accusatory, and
it's like, oh, you didn't think that? Oh, you thought I would like be shitty about it or whatever. And it's like I didn't know how you were gonna be about it.
Yeah, and then people become like almost vengeful about it. Of like, oh, I could have avoided all of this, and then it's just like turns it's like, just great. Don't. When in doubt, respond with love and just be like, you know, thank you for sharing that with me, and I still support you. Thank you for feeling comfortable.
It's very odd because, like, my favorite instance, like, portrayed in media of that happening is from Love, Simon. Did you ever see that?
No.
Not to... you know what? The movie's, like, fucking 5 years old. Whatever.
There's a TV show.
Oh, is there?
It's called Love, Victor, but it's the same vein.
Same shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, the dad responds pretty much exactly how I liked it, in that he was like, hey, I'm gay, and he was like, oh, when did you know? And he was like, about this time, and he was like, oh, all those gay jokes I made, I'm so sorry, I didn't know. Like, aww. And I'm like, aw, that's so sweet. Like, taking responsibility for, like, oh, I didn't realize that I was hurting you all this time. And it's like, that very likely was a contributing factor as to why it took so long from the time they found out to the time that you found out. Mm-hmm. Even though it is kind of weird that the dad wants to get a grinder with his kid to bond. And I'm like, I don't think you know what that is, honey. But the weirder one was when I initially thought I was trans when I was 17. And I came out, and my parents, understandably, as much as... I'm not super happy with the decision now, and I definitely wasn't then, but I'm at least in a perspective where I can understand where they were coming from. They were like, we don't want to modify or change your body until it's like you're absolutely sure, because this is fundamentally a pretty irreversible decision. Uh-huh. And they thought of the safety of their kid, of like, trans women get murdered a lot. So you gotta be careful. So and I kind of went through the phase of like, yeah, they're probably right. I'm probably not. And then I kind of fell out of it a little bit, and then it started to not go away, which, like, that's great.
Yeah.
Super big fan of, like, the beach ball under the water rising up to hit me in the chin. And during quarantine seemed like the most perfect time to have some incredible self-reflection. Mm-hmm. So I like... mulled it over again, and like I kept on thinking about it, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then October of 2020 was when I was like, you know what, I think this is probably what's happening. I think I might as well like just take action. Like at this point now it's just putting it off. So 5 years or 6 years, or no, 5 years in between the time that I thought it at first and the time that I started taking action. Do I resent the fact that I couldn't start as early as I could have? A little bit. Because let's be real, imagine how hot I'd be. And the fact that 5 years, that's about as long as the transition fundamentally takes before you're done seeing changes and like vocal therapy is done and stuff like
where
that.
You feel like you're coming into your final...
Where you're like actually finally in your skin almost.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, some people it takes less time, some people it takes more time, you know?
Yeah, it's variables.
It's a whole thing. And... I am, and I want to make this absolutely clear, I am not a professional. I know nothing about the medical stuff about it, only inside of what I've experienced, and like a lot of people have different experiences, especially when it comes to people who come out as gay or lesbian or bisexual, pansexual, non-binary, all that stuff. There's a range of reactions from a range of people. There's a range of things that can come from being queer in any direction.
Yeah.
All I want to say is if you're having thoughts like that you're not straight or you're not cis or whatever, just know that like that kind of inward discovery is not unnatural.
Mm-hmm.
It's not dangerous. It's not bad. And finding who you are and chasing that kind of happiness will make you much happier in the long run than just assuming you're like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say that, like, oh, if you're cis, then question your gender so we can trans you really quick. we could trans your child's gender. No, it's ultimately when you experience some kind of self-reflection that takes you further than you kind of were hoping it would, that might mean something. But that's a big might. You might not be comfortable going in that direction, and that's okay. Just chase whatever it is that makes you happy so long as it doesn't hurt anybody else around you, and so long as it doesn't make other people around you visibly really not cool.
Yeah. I mean, my perspective on it, just in case you wanted to know what the perspective of a 24-year-old single, not with child, cisgender man wants. Childless gay man, his perspective on children. I like, just allow, I think we need to end the stigma of, like, sexual exploration and, like, gender exploration.
They're not the same.
Well, they're not the same, but also just let people experiment, and if they don't like it, then they have a for sure answer through that experimentation. Let's just let people do what they want, and if they don't like it, then that's their decision to not do that anyways. And if it's like, if we believe people that they feel that they are born in the wrong body, we also have to believe people that, like, also feel that, like, through their experimentation and through their exploration, that they feel that, like, okay, maybe I am a cisgender person, or I am non-binary, or I am genderqueer, or etc., etc. So personally, I'm just like, if you feel like that this is something that you want to explore and experiment with, do the research, do it safely, and go off, because it'll probably be a lot more fun than you think it is.
Well, yeah. And this is just a personal frustration that I have. Mm-hmm. But the whole reinforcing the gender binary thing is getting really frustrating, especially considering how many people have thought, hey, maybe I'm not a this. Maybe I'm a neither, or a this, or a this, or a whatever.
Yeah, I mean, personally, the gender binary doesn't really concern, or like what is stereotypically masculine or feminine.
My thought process behind it is the fact that it's like, when you're put in an area and a place where you can safely and, like, be supported, like, questioning and kind of experimenting and going on that little quest of self-discovery, when you find something that isn't one of the two things, or whatever it is that you want to be, maybe the gender binary isn't as strong as we think it is.
Yeah. Turns out,
it kind of sucks.
Yeah, age-old institutions may not hold up as well.
Whoa, crazy. I wonder if there's, like, a piece of paper that's similar to that idea, too. Maybe it starts with the letter C. Anyway.
Maybe another piece of paper rhymes with Mishgameshkins of Mindependence.
You know, only one of those words could rhyme.
Maybe we shouldn't have declared our independence, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe Britain's not that bad.
Britain's not great, but
yeah, we'll go in that in a different podcast
in a separate time. But thanks to you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to our rambling about trans stuff, about getting stabbed with some antibodies.
Yeah. And join us next week where we talk about awful high school theater. And
that's going to be a very one-sided conversation. But yeah, join us next time where we talk about pee pee, poo poo,
and goo goo gaga.
Yeah. Have you ever...